All right, so in our previous session, we were just looking at a time management technique that is used in estimation of the duration of the total project. That was the critical path method. And it simply just dealt with coming up or deriving a critical path using various diagramming methods, which is the arrows, activities on arrow, and also the precedence diagramming method. All right, so we now continue. So when it comes to critical paths, there are changes that can be able to be implemented, okay, in order for us to be able to properly manage the time of a given project. So there are techniques for shortening schedules. In case maybe you want to shorten the schedule, maybe let's say the shareholders or the stakeholders, they feel like the project that you have proposed is going to be taking a little bit longer than they would wish it to take, or than they would want it to take. So they would request to say, is there a way of you to shorten that given project? So the techniques that can be used are two. We have got the crushing activities, where you're able to reduce the activities. Okay, maybe it might be the number of activities or the quantity of the activity to be done. Sometimes it might involve even compromising the quality of a given activity. Then apart from that, we are fast tracking the activity. Okay, so fast tracking the activity is the one where you now just focus on time. Maybe you see how you can make that activity to be done a little bit faster than you had initially intended it to be. So apart from techniques for shortening schedules, we have also what is known as updating critical path. So continually update project schedule information to meet time goals for a project. Critical path can change as you enter actual start and finish date. If you know the project completion date will slip, negotiate with the project sponsor. Okay, so here this simply just has to do with using or taking advantage of the information at hand as you are implementing that given project. You must be also be able to give feedback or information or how things are developing on the ground. If you are able to see that what is being developing on the ground based on the feedback or the information coming from the report, it is showing that the project might be completed at a later date than you had initially intended. Then you can be able to make some adjustments to see to it that you reduce or you control the project from slipping, okay, slipping over the finishing line. That way you can be able to control the time for the project, and it can be considered as one of the techniques of time management under project implementation. So the problem with fast tracking is that it comes with its own disadvantages. Quite okay, it is always nice when you get something at a faster rate, or when you get something done at a faster date than it was initially intended. However, this can also come with their own risks. So, for example, if you are under a construction project and you tried to fast track the whole process, it might result in accidents on the site, and it might even result in people getting injured or people even dying. Other good examples we can give are projects that has to do, maybe let's say, with medicine. Okay, you try to fast track the process of coming up with medicine that will be used to treat patients of a certain type of a disease. Might end up in a situation where the medicine fails to work or begins to react and it begins to impose certain side effects on the patients and begin to kill the patients. Therefore, as you fast track your as you try to fast track your activity, it is very important that you ask yourself the following questions. So you have to ask yourself the probability of producing expected benefits. Okay, so as we fast track this same project that we want to fast track, do we have high probabilities of expecting the benefits that we want? Okay, so if you discover that maybe the probabilities are low, then the wise thing to do is better not to fast track that project and just let it to go in a natural way. The second question you can ask yourself or have to ask yourself is, do we have resources available, okay, to navigate through the complexity? Because there are certain projects that are complex, especially like I gave an example, projects under medicine, they require specialized and skilled individuals that properly understands the anatomy of diseases and viruses. Okay, so if you want to fast track that process, you have to ask yourself, do we have a lot of such kinds of people that can properly understand these things and properly fast track this project? If you know that you have them, then you can go ahead, but if you know that you don't have, the wise thing to do is probably not to go ahead. All right. Then the third question you have to ask yourself is everyone on board with this same decision? Is everyone going to agree? Does everyone agree? The experts and also the people involved. Because like I gave an example under construction, you might want to fast track, but the people involved, they are also scared to say, if we fast track this project, it might result in us ourselves getting into accidents or being injured. So it is very important that you get to also ask yourself, is everyone on board or is everyone willing to accept this proposal of us fast tracking this given project? Then last but not the least, you need to ask yourself as a project manager, or you need to ask the project manager involved if they are uh, ready, willing, and capable to manage the fast tracking of that given project. All right, so that was under critical path method, which I believe is the most complex of them all. These other ones are simply just walkover. For example, if we look at the critical chain scheduling, this is just simply a method that follows under the critical path. However, this one simply has to do with the getting to add extra time, okay? Getting to give certain activities some extra time, okay? So a method of scheduling, this critical chain scheduling is a method of scheduling that considers limited resources when creating a project schedule and include buffers to protect the project completion date. Okay, so as you are implementing the project, there might be certain activities that might have limited resources. Okay, so under critical chain scheduling, you begin to examine which activities are these, and then once you find them, you begin to now add some extra resources required for these activities to be completed in time and to ensure that the whole process of project implementation is not disturbed. So as you can see, we have an example on a diagram here where we have what is known as a critical chain. So this critical chain has already analyzed these activities, okay? And then you can see there's activity X, X, and X here, okay? And then we can see these buffers. So these buffers are additional resources that have been added to aid with these given activities. So for this X here, we have got a buffer here, which is supplementing. For this X, we have got this buffer here, which is supplementing. And then for this other X, we have got another buffer here, which is supplementing. A feeding buffer, which simply is just an additional of resource. So a buffer is an additional time to complete a task. In a traditional estimate, people often add a buffer to each task and use it if it's needed or not. Alright, so critical chain scheduling removes buffers from individual tasks and instead creates a project buffer or additional time added before the project due date. Alright, so all these are just self-explanatory. Then we have the project evaluation and review technique, which is some sort of formula that we can be able to use to be able to create an estimate. So the project evaluation and review technique is a network analysis technique used to estimate project duration when there is a high degree of uncertainty about the individual activity duration estimate. So as you can see, this is the formula that is used. So optimistic time plus 4 times most likely time plus pessimistic time over 6. So the best way to apply this formula is for you guys to try out this example given this information. So you say P E R T, okay, then you say equals optimistic times. What is the optimistic time here? It's 8 plus 4, so we can just do some brackets here. 4 multiplied by most likely times. What's the most likely time? 10. Most likely time is 10, okay, plus pessimistic time. So we say plus pessimistic time, which is 24 days. Over 6. Okay. Then from here, what's the next thing you do? 4 multiplied by 10, that's 40. So you say 8 plus 40. Okay. Then plus 24. Okay. And then divide by 6. So as you are practicing, you'll be able to finish this on your own. It's a simple and straightforward thing. And that's where we'll end with our alright, so that's where we'll end with our course under introduction of project management. The rest of these things are just simply self-explanatory, and we have looked at them. So here they are saying final notes on project schedule development, an iterative process. So this is a process of just expanding on like giving more details to things, review and revise the duration and resource estimate. So once you have created your schedule, you do not implement it right there and then. Okay, so you have to, and it has to undergo an iterative process. where you begin to review it and see if there's some more information, there's some more details that is missing, then you begin to add more of those details. So it's more like you are expanding it. Then apart from that, ensure that you review and revise the duration and resources estimates. You want to create something that can be approved. So that schedule is going to have to pass approval from the stakeholders and also the shareholders. So it is important that you do a thorough review and revision of the duration and also resource estimations. So approved schedule will then act as the baseline to track progress. Okay. Right. Schedule control suggestions. Before reality checks on schedules, allow for contingents, controlling schedule. So goals are to know that the status of the schedule influence factors that cause schedule changes. Alright, so these are just self-explanatory and things that we have actually already discussed on. So this is where we'll end for our course and our program in project management. And yeah, we'll keep you guys updated as we progress, maybe with updated videos and so on and so forth. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask, yeah, or contact me. All right.